The Senger Theater in New Orleans pulsed with energy, its golden chandeliers casting a warm glow over the packed auditorium. Hundreds of faces, teachers, parents, and community activists filled the seats, their anticipation electric. As they awaited the night's keynote speaker, the event, a fundraiser for underfunded schools in the Ninth Ward, carried a weight that hung heavy in the humid Louisiana air. Banners draped across the walls read, "Education is a right," and "Fund our future," in bold, defiant letters. On stage, Representative Jasmine Crockett stood poised, her natural curls catching the spotlight, her eyes sharp and unyielding. She gripped the microphone, her voice a commanding melody that cut through the murmurs of the crowd. "We're here tonight because our kids deserve better," she began, her words ringing with conviction. "The children of the Ninth Ward deserve books that aren't falling apart, classrooms that don't swelter in the summer heat, and a chance to dream as big as any kid in America." The audience erupted, applause crashing like waves, hands raised in agreement. A group of high schoolers in the front row waved handmade signs, "Crockett for Justice," and "Our schools, our power." Among them sat Maya Thompson, a lanky 15-year-old with a faded hoodie and a phone that had seen better days. Her eyes were glued to Crockett, her hero, the woman who spoke truths Maya felt in her bones. She leaned toward her best friend Jaden, whispering, "This is gonna blow up on TikTok, I swear." Jaden, his braids tucked under a Saints cap, smirked. "You better start filming now, then." Maya grinned, her thumb hovering over her phone's record button, but she held off, wanting to soak in every word. Crockett's voice grew fiercer, her cadence a blend of preacher and poet. "I grew up in a neighborhood like this one," she said, her tone softening, pulling the crowd closer. "Where schools got the scrap-torn textbooks, broken computers, dreams deferred. But we're not asking for charity tonight. We're demanding what's ours. Because education isn't a privilege, it's a right." The room exploded again, cheers and stomps shaking the old theater's floor. A teacher in the third row wiped a tear, nodding fiercely. Maya's heart raced. She could feel the moment building, something big, something shareable. But then, a ripple of confusion cut through the energy. The side door of the auditorium swung open with a creak, and a tall figure strode in, his silver hair gleaming under the lights. Senator John Kennedy, in a crisp navy suit, his southern drawl already audible as he waved to the crowd like a parade grand marshal. "Evenin', New Orleans," he called, his voice syrupy and deliberate. A gaggle of aides and a few reporters trailed him, camera flashes popping like firecrackers. The audience froze, some clapping hesitantly, others exchanging wary glances. Crockett, still holding the mic, tilted her head, her smile sharp as a blade. "Senator Kennedy," she said, her voice calm but laced with steel, "I don't recall your name on the guest list, but since you're here, maybe you can explain why contributions to our schools always seem to come with a catch." Laughter rippled through the crowd, quick and cutting. Maya's eyes widened. She fumbled with her phone, hitting record just as the tension thickened. "Jaden, this is it," she hissed, zooming in on Crockett's face. Jaden leaned forward, whispering, "She's about to roast him." Kennedy, undeterred, climbed the stage steps with the confidence of a man who'd never been turned away. An aide handed him a microphone, and he faced the crowd, his grin unwavering. "Now, Congresswoman Crockett, I admire your passion," he said, drawing out each syllable. "But I'm here to support this fine cause. Education's important. To me, always has been. I just want to make sure we're talking about real solutions discipline. Hard work, traditional values, not just pointing fingers." The room buzzed, a mix of murmurs and boos. A few older audience members nodded, drawn in by Kennedy's folksy charm, but most sat rigid, waiting for Crockett's response. Maya's camera stayed steady, capturing every second. Crockett stepped closer to Kennedy, her heels clicking on the stage. "Traditional values," she repeated, her voice low but piercing. "Like the tradition of cutting $20 million from Orleans parish schools. Or the tradition of letting kids in mostly black neighborhoods learn in classrooms without air conditioning while schools in the Garden District get new laptops every year." The crowd roared, a tidal wave of agreement. A parent in the back shouted, "Tell him, Jasmine." Maya's screen showed the likes already ticking up as she streamed live to TikTok, her caption reading, "Crockett versus Kennedy." Round 1, Kennedy raised a hand, his smile tightening just a fraction. "Now, hold on, ma'am," he said, his tone still smooth but with an edge. "I've never voted against education. I'm for efficiency, making sure every dollar counts. We can't just throw money at problems and hope they go away." He turned to the crowd, playing to the cameras. "These kids need skills, not politics. They need jobs, not lectures about the past." The room split, some clapping for his pragmatism, others hissing at the dismissal. Crockett didn't flinch. "Efficiency?" she shot back, her voice rising. "Like a storm. Is that what you call it when schools in black and brown communities get half the funding of wealthier districts? When our kids are using math books from 2005 while others get iPads? Senator, that's not efficiency. That's inequity." The audience erupted again, louder this time, feet stomping, hands clapping. Maya's phone vibrated with notifications. Her video was already at 500 views and climbing. "She's killing it," she whispered to Jaden, who was grinning ear to ear. A teacher nearby leaned over, muttering, "Kennedy picked the wrong fight tonight." On stage, Crockett paced, her energy electric. "You talk about the past like it's irrelevant," she said, pointing a finger at Kennedy. "But that past slavery, segregation, redlining, -isg, -is, -y, -is, -ys, -is, y, -is, why our schools are underfunded today. You don't get to sweep that under the rug and call it traditional values." Kennedy's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing slightly. He adjusted his tie, stepping closer to the edge of the stage. "Congresswoman, I respect your perspective," he said, his voice slower now, measured. "But I've been in this game a long time. I fought for Louisiana's kids, black, white, everybody. I'm here tonight to make sure this fundraiser succeeds, not to argue history lessons." He paused, letting the words sink in, and a few in the crowd clapped, drawn to his calm demeanor. But Crockett wasn't done. "Here to help," she said, her voice cutting through the applause. "Then tell us why you voted against the Education Equity Act last year. Tell us why schools in the 9th Ward are still waiting for the funds you promised in 2022. The room went quiet, the air thick with anticipation. Camera flashes intensified, reporters scribbling furiously. Maya zoomed in on Kennedy's face, catching the faint twitch in his jaw. "He's sweating," she whispered, her video now at 1,000 views. Kennedy cleared his throat, his folksy charm giving way to a hint of defensiveness. "I voted my conscience," he said. "That bill had too many strings attached, bureaucracy, red tape. I want real change, not more government overreach." But his words lacked the punch of Crockett's, and the crowd sensed it. Boos started. Low at first, then louder, rolling through the auditorium. Then a voice broke through the noise. Maya, unable to hold back, stood up, her phone still recording. "Senator Kennedy," she shouted, her voice trembling but clear. Every head turned, the spotlight swinging to her. Crockett paused, a spark of pride in her eyes. Kennedy squinted. "Caught off guard, yes, young lady," he said, his tone softer, almost paternal. Maya took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "If you care about education, why does my school have textbooks from 10 years ago? Why do we share one computer? Lab, while the rich schools get iPads for every kid. You keep saying efficiency, but it feels like you're only efficient at ignoring us. The auditorium exploded cheers, applause, even a few whistles. Crockett clapped slowly, nodding at Maya, who stood frozen, her phone shaking in her hand. Jaden nudged her, whispering, "You're a legend." Kennedy, for the first time, looked genuinely rattled. He ran a hand through his hair, his smile gone. "What's your name, darlin', huh?" he asked, trying to regain control. "Maya Thompson," she said, her voice steadier now, "and I'm tired of hearing excuses." The crowd roared again, some chanting, "Maya, Maya." Crockett stepped forward, her voice booming. "That's right, Maya and Senator. If you're tired of excuses, too, then step up. Fund our schools. No more talk, show us the money." Kennedy opened his mouth, but no words came. The cameras caught every second, the reporters now standing. Sensing a viral moment, Maya's video hit 5,000 views, comments flooding in. Crockett is fire. And who's this kid? She's a star. The senator took a step back, his aides whispering urgently behind him. "I hear you, young lady," he said finally, his voice quieter. "And I'm here to listen. Let's talk off the stage." "No." "Cameras, I want to understand." The crowd murmured, some skeptical, others intrigued. Crockett raised an eyebrow, unconvinced but curious. "We'll talk, Senator," she said, "but not behind closed doors. Our kids deserve answers in the open." As the applause swelled again, Maya sat down, her hands shaking with adrenaline. Her phone buzzed, non-stop, 10,000 views and counting. Jaden grabbed her shoulder, laughing. "You just made history, Maya." On stage, Crockett gave Maya a nod, a silent promise to keep fighting. Kennedy, his composure fraying, forced a smile and waved to the crowd, but the spotlight was no longer his. The night belonged to Crockett, to Maya, to the Ninth Ward. And as the cameras rolled and Maya's videos spread like wildfire, one thing was clear. This was just the beginning. Asterisk, the morning after the fundraiser at the Senger Theater, New Orleans, buzzed with a fervor that felt like a second Mardi Gras. Maya Thompson woke to her phone, vibrating off her nightstand, notifications piling up like beads on Bourbon Street. Her TikTok video of Jasmine Crockett's showdown with Senator John Kennedy had exploded overnight, racking up 150,000 views and counting. Comments flooded in. Crockett ate him up. And who's this kid calling out Kennedy? ICON. Maya, still in her pajamas, scrolled through the reactions, her heart racing. "Jaden, look at this," she yelled, bursting into the kitchen where her best friend was eating cereal at the counter. Jaden, still wearing his Saints cap, grabbed her phone and whistled. "Girl, you're viral. Like, viral, viral. You're gonna be on the news." Maya laughed, but her stomach twisted with nerves. She hadn't meant to steal the spotlight. She just couldn't stay quiet when Kennedy dodged Crockett's questions. Now, her face and her voice were everywhere. Across town, Jasmine Crockett sat in a small coffee shop on Magazine Street, sipping an iced chicory coffee. Her phone was buzzing too, with texts from aides, reporters, and even a few colleagues. In Congress, the video of last night's event had made its way to CNN, MSNBC, and every major X account from Baton Rouge to D.C. Crockett versus Kennedy, the showdown we didn't see coming. One headline read. She smirked, but her mind was already racing ahead. Kennedy's appearance at the fundraiser wasn't random, she knew that much. He'd been dodging questions about education cuts for years, and his folksy act didn't fool her. She leaned back, glancing at her aide, Simone, who was typing furiously on a laptop. "Find me everything on Kennedy's voting record for the last 5 years," Crockett said. and check who's been funding his campaigns. Something's off. Simone nodded, her fingers flying. Already on it. Also, that kid Maya. Her video's trending everywhere. People are calling her the next AOC. Meanwhile, in a sleek hotel suite overlooking the Mississippi River, Senator John Kennedy sat with his team, his usual calm demeanor fraying at the edges. The morning news played on a muted TV, showing clips of last night's event with Maya's voice cutting through. Why does my school have textbooks from 10 years ago? His aides were in damage control mode, drafting statements and fielding calls from reporters. This is a PR nightmare, Senator said his chief of staff, a wiry man named Paul. That girl's video is everywhere, and Crockett's milking it. We need to pivot. Kennedy leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled. Pivot to what, Paul? T said, his drawl slow but sharp. The truth? That we've been fighting for efficiency in a broken system? Paul shook his head. The public doesn't care about efficiency right now. They see a kid calling you out in Crockett looking like a hero. We need a counter-narrative fast. Back at Maya's house, the doorbell rang, startling her and Jaden. It was Liam Carter, a 25-year-old freelance journalist who'd been at the fundraiser, his backpack slung over one shoulder. Maya had met him once before at a community event. He'd written a piece about her school's outdated facilities that got some local traction. Maya, you're a star, Liam said, grinning as he stepped inside. That video? It's not just viral, it's starting a movement. Maya blushed, shoving her phone into her pocket. I didn't plan it, she said. I just got mad. Liam pulled out his laptop. Good. That's why it works. People feel your anger. But I found something you need to see. He opened a file, revealing a scanned document from a 2018 Senate hearing. Kennedy once co-sponsored a bill to fund schools like yours, $15 million for Orleans Parish, but he pulled out at the last minute. Guess why? Maya leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. Why? Liam tapped the screen. Pressure from a group called Crescent Future Fund. They're big donors to his campaigns. Now they've got ties to real estate developers who profit when public schools stay underfunded. Maya's jaw dropped. Jaden, peering over her shoulder, let out a low whistle. So he's playing dirty. Liam nodded. That's more than that. Crescent Future Fund has been pushing to privatize schools in black and brown neighborhoods. They want charter schools they can control, not public ones that serve kids like you. Maya's mind raced. She thought of Crockett's speech, the fire in her words. We need to tell Miss Crockett, she said. Liam grinned. Already sent. Her team an email. But we need more hard evidence. I'm digging into their financials, but it's tricky. If we can prove this, it's game over for Kennedy's. I'm here to help act. By noon, the story had taken on a life of its own. Maya's video hit 500,000 views, with X posts amplifying the moment. Jasmine Crockett schools Kennedy. And this 15-year-old just exposed a senator. Crockett, now back at her temporary office in New Orleans, watched the video again, her lips curling into a smile. Simone burst in, holding a tablet. Boss, you need to see this. That kid. Mayashi's got the internet on fire. And this journalist, Liam Carter, just sent us something big. Crockett skimmed the document about Crescent Future Fund, her eyes narrowing. So Kennedy's been playing both sides, she said, smiling. For the cameras while his donors gut our schools. We need to take this public, but smartly. Set up a press conference for this afternoon and get Maya and that journalist here. They're part of this now. The press conference was set for 3 p.m. outside City Hall, a deliberate choice to keep the spotlight on the community. By 2:30, a crowd had gathered reporters, activists, and dozens of students from Maya's school, many holding signs echoing Crockett's words. Education is a right. Maya stood nervously beside Liam, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Jaden was there too, hyping her up. "You're about to be on CNN, Maya. Own it." She rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. When Crockett arrived, the crowd parted. Her presence commanding even in the humid afternoon heat. She wore a bold red blazer, her curls bouncing as she strode to the podium. "Thank you, New Orleans," she began, her voice steady. "Last night, we heard a truth that's been ignored. Too long, our kids are being left behind. Not because of inefficiency, but because of choices made by people like Senator Kennedy, who talk about helping while voting to cut our schools' lifelines." The crowd cheered, cameras flashing. Maya, standing off to the side, felt her phone buzz again. Her video was now at 750,000 views. Crockett continued, holding up the document Liam had sent. "This is proof," she said, her voice rising. "In 2018, Senator Kennedy had a chance to fund our schools $15 million for Orleans Parish, but he backed out, pressured by a group called Crescent Future Fund, who profit when our public schools fail. This isn't about values, it's about money." The crowd gasped, then roared, signs waving furiously. Reporters shouted questions. But Crockett raised a hand. "I'm not done. I want you to hear from someone else, someone who reminded us all last night what's at stake. Maya Thompson, come up here." Maya froze, her heart pounding. Jaden pushed her forward, whispering, "Go, superstar." She climbed the steps, her sneakers squeaking, and stood beside Crockett, who gave her a warm nod. "Go on, Maya," she said softly. Maya took a deep breath, her voice shaky at first. "I'm just a kid from the 9th Ward," she said, "but I'm tired of hearing excuses. My school doesn't have enough books. Our computers crash every day, and we're told to just deal with it. Senator Kennedy said he cares, but his votes say something else." The crowd erupted, chanting her name. Maya's hands trembled, but she kept going. "We deserve better. Our teachers deserve better, and we're not going to be quiet anymore." The cheers were deafening. Liam, standing nearby, caught Crockett's eye and nodded, his laptop open to new files he'd dug up overnight. But across town, Kennedy was watching the press conference on a live feed, his jaw tight. Paul, his chief of staff, paced the hotel suite. "This is bad, Senator. That document, they've got receipts. And the kid. She's untouchable. The public loves her." Kennedy leaned back, his fingers drumming on the armrest. "Then we need to change the story," he said. "Get me on the next news cycle. I'll do an interview local station, not national, and find out everything you can about this Liam Carter. If he's digging, he's a problem." By evening, Kennedy's team had secured a spot on a local news channel, WDSU. He sat under the studio lights, his drawl as smooth as ever. "I've always supported education," he said, looking directly into the camera. "That 2018 bill. It was flawed, too much red tape, not enough accountability. I pulled out to protect taxpayers, not to hurt kids. And I'm happy to meet with Ms. Crockett and young Maya to find real solutions." The anchor nodded, but social media was less forgiving. X posts lit up. Kennedy's dodging again, and Maya already called him out, "Try harder." Crockett, watching the interview from her office, shook her head. "He's good," she said to Simone, "but not good enough." "Liam's got more on Crescent Future Fund, doesn't he?" Simone nodded. "He says he's close to linking their donations to specific votes. If we get that, it's over for Kennedy." Back at Maya's house, she and Liam were hunched over, his laptop combing through public records. Jaden brought them snacks, joking, "Y'all are like detectives now." Liam chuckled, but his eyes were serious. "Maya, this is bigger than we thought. Crescent Future Fund isn't just about schools. They're tied to developers who want to gentrify the 9th Ward. If we can prove Kennedy's votes helped them, It's a scandal. Maya's eyes widened. Snowy's not just cutting schools, he's helping push people out. Liam nodded. Exactly. But we need one more piece of evidence, money trail. I've got a contact who might help, but it's risky. Maya looked at her phone, now with 1 million views. I'm in, she said. Let's do this. As the night deepened, the city buzzed with anticipation. Maya's video had sparked protests small but growing outside City Hall, with students holding signs, "Fund our schools," and no more excuses. Crockett prepared for the next move, knowing Kennedy wouldn't back down easily. And in his hotel suite, Kennedy stared at his phone. A new email from an unknown sender. We need to talk about Crescent. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. He deleted it, his face unreadable, but the weight of the fight was sinking in. The stage was set, the lights were on, and New Orleans was watching. The dawn light filtered through the shutters of Maya Thompson's bedroom, casting stripes across her desk where her phone lay, still buzzing with notifications. Her TikTok video from the Senger Theater showdown had surpassed 2 million views. And her follow-up clip from Jasmine Crockett's press conference was closing in on 1 million. X was ablaze with hashtags. Hashtag Fund Our Schools. Hashtag Crockett vs. Kennedy. And hashtag Maya Speaks. Comments ranged from "This kid's changing the game" to "New Orleans is waking up." Maya, bleary-eyed from a late night digging through documents with Liam Carter, stared at her screen, overwhelmed. She hadn't signed up to be a movement's face, but here she was, her voice echoing across the internet. Jaden sprawled on her floor with a bag of chips, grinned. You're famous now, Maya. Bet you're getting a Netflix doc next. She threw a pillow at him. Shut up. I'm just trying to get our school some books. But her heart pounded with a mix of fear and pride. She glanced at Liam's last text. Got a lead on Crescent Future Fund's money trail. Meet me at the library at 8. Bring Jaden across town in a cramped office near the French Quarter. Jasmine. Crockett pored over a stack of printouts, her red blazer swapped for a hoodie. Simone, her aide, was on her third coffee, cross-referencing campaign finance records with Liam's latest findings. The press conference had lit a fuse, and New Orleans was crackling with energy protests outside City Hall, op-eds in the Times-Picayune, and calls flooding Kennedy's office. Crockett tapped a highlighted line in the documents. Crescent Future Fund funneled $2 million to Kennedy's last campaign through shell companies. She said, her voice low. And they're tied to developers who've been buying up Ninth Ward land for pennies. This isn't just about schools. It's about pushing people out. Simone nodded, her eyes sharp. Liam says he's got bank records that could prove it, but his source is skittish. We need to move fast before Kennedy spins this. Crockett leaned back, her mind racing. Get Maya and Liam to the community meeting tonight. We're going public with everything. In a high-rise office overlooking Canal Street, Senator John Kennedy sat behind a mahogany desk, his usual charm replaced by a steely focus. The anonymous email from last night, "Stop digging, or you'll regret it," hadn't shaken him, but the growing protests had. His chief of staff, Paul, paced, phone glued to his ear. The polls are dipping, Senator, Paul said, hanging up. Voters love that kid, Maya and Crockett's, framing you as the villain. We need to act. Kennedy stared out the window, his fingers drumming. I didn't sign up to hurt kids, Paul, he said, his drawl quieter than usual. But Crescent's been good to us. They're not the only ones playing hardball. Paul stopped pacing. Then meet with Crockett. Publicly, offer a compromise, some funding. Maybe a pilot program. It'll buy us time. Kennedy's eyes narrowed. And what? If they've got those bank records? Paul hesitated. Deny it. No one's got hard proof yet. Kennedy nodded, but the weight of his choices was settling in at the New Orleans Public Library. Maya and Jaden met Liam in a quiet corner, surrounded by stacks of history books. Liam, his backpack stuffed with notes, looked wired, like he hadn't slept. "My source came through," he whispered, sliding a USB drive across the table. "Bank transfers from Crescent Future Fund to a developer called Bayou Holdings, who then donated to Kennedy's campaign. It's a money laundering scheme to hide their influence." Maya's eyes widened. "So they're paying Kennedy too." "Keep our schools broke." Liam nodded. "And to clear land for luxury condos. Your neighborhood's next if this goes unchecked." Jaden leaned forward, his voice low. "What's the plan?" "You just hand this to Crockett." Liam shook his head. "Not yet. We need to verify the transfers independently, or Kennedy's team will shred us. I've got a contact at a bank, but it'll take a day." Maya clutched the USB drive, her resolve hardening. "Then we keep pushing. People are listening now." Afternoon, the protests outside City Hall had grown, with hundreds of students, parents, and teachers chanting, "No more cuts. Fund our schools." Maya and Jaden joined, holding signs they'd made that morning. "Books, not excuses." And Ninth Ward rising. The crowd's energy was infectious, but Maya felt the pressure mounting. Her phone buzzed with a text from Crockett's team. "Community meeting at St. Mary's Church. 7 p.m. We need you to speak." She showed it to Jaden, who whistled. "You're running this now, Maya." She rolled her eyes but couldn't deny the fire in her chest. She wasn't just fighting for her school anymore. This was for her neighbors, her future. Asterisk at St. Mary's Church that evening. The pews were packed, the air thick with anticipation. Crockett stood at the pulpit, her presence commanding. As she introduced Liam and Maya, "These two," she said, her voice warm, "are proof that change starts with us. Liam's uncovered evidence, and Maya's given us a voice. Tonight, we show the world what New Orleans stands for." The crowd cheered, phones raised to record. Liam spoke first, laying out Crescent Future Fund's ties to Kennedy's campaign and their gentrification plans. "This isn't just about schools," he said, holding up a printed bank record. "It's about erasing communities for profit." Murmurs rippled through the room, anger simmering. Maya took the mic next, her knees shaking but her voice steady. "I'm 15, she said, "and I shouldn't have to fight for a decent school. But Senator Kennedy's votes are why my classes are overcrowded, why our libraries half empty. He says he cares, but his donors care more about condos than kids." The crowd roared, chanting, "No more lies." Maya paused, catching Crockett's encouraging nod. "We're not stopping until our schools get what we deserve," she finished, her voice cracking with emotion. The applause was thunderous, phones streaming the moment live. X lit up instantly. "Maya Thompson for president." And Crockett and Maya are unstoppable. But across town, Kennedy was preparing his counterattack. He'd agreed to a public meeting with Crockett, set for the next morning at the Superdome's community center, neutral space to diffuse the tension. His team had prepped a statement, partial funding for Ninth Ward schools, framed as a good faith gesture. Paul coached him in the hotel suite. "Keep it folksy, Senator. Apologize vaguely, promise a little, and pivot to unity. The public eats that up." Kennedy nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He'd received another email from the same anonymous sender. "Back off, or we'll leak your calls." He hadn't told Paul about it, but the threat gnawed at him. Crescent Future Fund wasn't just a donor, they had leverage. And he'd underestimated their reach. The Superdome meeting drew a massive crowd, with media outlets from across the country packed into the bleachers. Crockett arrived first, flanked by Simone and Liam, her expression unreadable. Maya and Jaden sat in the front row, the USB drive burning a hole in Maya's pocket. Kennedy entered minutes later, his smile practiced, but strained, his aides trailing like a protective shield. The moderator, a local pastor, opened with a call for civility, but the air crackled with tension. Crockett spoke first, her voice cutting through the hum of cameras. "Senator Kennedy, you've had years to fund our schools, but you chose your donors over our kids. We have proof bank records linking Crescent Future Fund to your votes. Will you deny it?" The crowd leaned forward, phones recording. Kennedy cleared his throat, his drawl deliberate. "Congresswoman, I've never taken a dime to hurt Louisiana," he said. "Those records? Tono M. But I'm here to work together. I'm proposing $5 million for Ninth Ward schools effective next year. That's real change, not accusations." Some clapped, but others booed, sensing a dodge. Crockett didn't blink. "$5 million, she said, her tone icy. "That's a fraction of what you cut. And these records," she held up a printout, "show Crescent paid you to vote their way. Explain that." The room erupted, shouts of answer. Her, and no more lies. Kennedy's smile faltered, his eyes flicking to Paul, who looked pale. Maya whispered to Jaden, "He's cornered." But then Kennedy did something unexpected. He stood, walking to the podium, his voice softer. "I've made mistakes," he said, catching the crowd off guard. "In 2018, I backed a school funding bill, then pulled out. Not because of money, but because I thought it was flawed. I was wrong to walk away." The room went quiet, even Crockett pausing. "I didn't see the kids like Maya," he continued, glancing at her. "I'm not perfect, but I'm listening now. Let's build something together." The crowd murmured. Some moved, others were skeptical. Maya's phone buzzed, her live stream hit 500,000 viewers. Crockett stepped forward, her eyes locked on Kennedy. "Words are cheap, Senator," she said. "But if you're serious, co-sponsor a new built $20 million, no strings, and cut ties with Crescent Future Fund." Kennedy hesitated, his jaw tightening. The pastor interjected, sensing a breakthrough. "Let's take this as a start," he said. "Senator, will you commit?" Kennedy nodded slowly. "I'll meet with my team. But I want Maya and Ms. Crockett at the table." The crowd cheered, though Crockett's expression remained guarded. After the meeting, Maya's speech went viral again. Clips shared across platforms. "We're not stopping until our schools get what we deserve." Liam's evidence sparked investigations into Crescent Future Fund, with the Times-Picayune running a front-page story. Kennedy returned to his office, the anonymous emails now aflood. But he began drafting a proposal, his conscience stirred by Maya's words. Crockett, back at her office, called Maya. "You've changed the game, kid," she said. "But this is just the start. Stay loud." Maya nodded, her resolve unbreakable. As New Orleans celebrated a small victory, the city's lights burned brighter. And Maya's voice echoed, a beacon for change.